We have some breaking news to bring you relating to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and the news last week that they are returning to the UK. With me is our senior royal correspondent, Daniela Ralph. What have we learned, Daniela?
Well, we now know that Harry and Meghan and their two children, Archie and Lilibet, will be back in the UK today. BBC understands that they are flying in privately with their children to start this new phase of their life based back in Britain. We understand they have flown privately rather than commercially into the UK, and we should see them settling in over the course of the afternoon and later today. So they are arriving back today in the UK.
Do we know where their new base is going to be here in the UK, Daniela?
We don't exactly, but we're expecting it to be in the Cotswolds area. We were told they were going to have a private home outside of London. The Cotswolds is an area they know well. In 2018, they rented a property there for a period of time. They also have friends there, so it is somewhere that they are familiar with and not too far away from London. The children, Archie and Lilibet, have been enrolled in local schools, so that really is very much linked into the timing of this as well. Those schools will start back towards the end of next week, so they're now going to have around a week or so to settle in before the kids start the new term.
Quite the jet lag always. When you come from California, then you need that week to get them in the right schedules and ready for school, of course. What do we know about their reasons for coming back?
There seem to be a variety of reasons, and as you all know, there has been so much speculation over recent weeks. One of the key reasons, I think, is that Meghan is interested in a return to acting, as we know. There is still these early talks going on with the programme makers of The Gentleman, the series on Netflix. Guy Ritchie, the British director, created that particular series. Much of it is filmed in the Cotswolds. So, again, it would be a very neat solution in terms of a return to acting for Meghan. For Harry, he clearly is working on improving his relationships with his family. He wants to see more of his father. The whole family saw the King at Highgrove in July, and I think perhaps that was another prompt in terms of returning home. The King, heading into his late 70s, almost 80, he is still having cancer treatment. It's very clear that Harry does want to try and repair the bond he had with his father and to make sure that his children know their grandfather well too. In terms of what they're going to do here, Harry will expand his programme of public engagements. We're going to see a lot more of him out and about, particularly with those charities that he's continued to work with while he's been based in California. For Meghan, the focus will be on settling her family, but she's also looking to expand her as ever lifestyle brand and also, of course, working towards that return to acting.
Daniela, thank you for bringing us that breaking news. Daniela Ralph, our senior royal correspondent, just confirming that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and their two children, Archie and Lilibet, are arriving back in the UK today, and they are returning here privately, we understand, from California, of course, on private transport.
Prince Harry and Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, have reportedly touched down in the UK, along with their children, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, who are set to begin the school term there this fall. This reporting comes to us from several news sources. Apparently, the family landed in Birmingham this morning. Ahead of their arrival in the UK today, we did actually get that long-awaited confirmation from the Sussex camp that this is indeed a move to the UK, a relocation. It is very possible that people missed this because it was baked into this New York Times article with kind of an off-putting headline: Harry and Meghan see their California dreams and riches fade away. This is a bizarre article, and you can find refutations to almost everything in it. But it was in here that a Sussex rep was quoted for, I believe, the first time, saying, "On the heels of a wonderful trip with family and friends this summer, Harry and Meghan have decided to spend an extended period in the UK this autumn. They are excited to have their children spend more time in the country that's such an important part of their family's story." So if you were waiting for that direct confirmation, here it is. Again, we are told it's an extended period in the UK this autumn, painting the picture of a short-term move. I still kind of think this is a trial run, that the kids could grow up in the UK, essentially, if all goes well, but that is conjecture. I just have to say first, before anything else, The Telegraph, have we learned nothing? Harry and Meghan return to Britain without close police protection. This just feels so irresponsible. Like, again, have we learned nothing, especially from the Jason Arday saga? There was definitely a way to write this story. I understand what was trying to be done here, because it's actually the video I want to make today. I want to talk about how they're returning to the UK, but also there is one big question mark under this return, which is the family's security arrangement. Now, this is only an issue because it has played out so publicly that Harry believes the family should still be entitled to close police protection. That is not just to get the taxpayer or the royal family to pay for it. Harry does believe that his family should be protected by the Metropolitan Police, have access to the intelligence that they would be privy to. And in the UK, you cannot have armed security unless it is Metropolitan Police protection. And the only way to get that is to go through RAVEC, the Royal and VIP Executive Committee. That is the body that has been reviewing the Sussex security case. Harry and Meghan have offered to pay for it, and that is just not how things are done. So they were told that was not possible. Those are the facts. That is not conjecture. That is what is happening here. You cannot argue with that. So they do arrive back in the UK via private jet this morning without close police protection. But again, saying it in this way, I feel like just invites a frenzy. Which I am so done with saying, well, it's the Telegraph, what can you expect? Well, it's the Daily Mail, what can you expect? Have we learned nothing? God forbid anything happens to this family. Because if that does happen, coverage like this will be Exhibit A. But let's talk about what's going on with the security review, which again has been a long time coming. We were told around New Year's this year that Harry had requested a review of his security risk. Basically, he asked for RAVEC to reassess the landscape as it currently is in the UK. That would include threats against him and his family, which, according to an independent security review conducted earlier this year, numbered at least 6. And that is 6 terror plots. This was a report commissioned, not conducted, but commissioned by Harry's own security firm. And the findings included those 6 terrorist plots, 5 of which originated in the UK, as well as dozens of other threats and potential attacks. This was forwarded to the UK Security Committee, RAVEC, and Harry saw it as well. It does seem like their move to the UK is what has now prompted this reconsideration of the reconsideration. There is some mixed messaging here. The Times had a story on it this weekend about how RAVEC is planning to restart its review given the new circumstances of the family's security needs. The review will now focus on the fact that the Sussexes will be living in the UK full-time, at least for now, rather than the idea of one-off bespoke agreements based on frequent visits. This, according to the report, could actually simplify matters, as it is said this would be a more typical arrangement. So this could actually play in the family's favor. Then from GBN, which I know it's a very conservative outlet as well, but they do sometimes get scoops because think of who is willing to talk to an outlet like this. Here we are told the review was actually completed at the end of July. That, we can infer, would have involved those one-off agreements with RAVEC on security whenever the family visited the UK. GBN says RAVEC is now reviewing whether the family should get taxpayer-funded armed police protection when they are living in Britain. So is this the same review being restarted? Is it 2 different reviews? I am not sure. They even loop in the Home Secretary here, who Harry is said to have written to, but that was last year when he was asking for the reassessment. All of this to say, apparently a review of their circumstances is ongoing. Whether it has been completed and we are just waiting for the results, or it is still happening, even as the family touches down in Britain, that's anyone's guess.
The frenzy round Harry and Meghan isn't normal. And what I think it shows to me is all those people who hate on Meghan are secretly obsessed with Meghan. She's got this star quality. Her and Harry together, they are superstars. They get to people's, inside their soul in a way William and Kate never could. And probably don't want to, park that to the side. But I think Harry and Meghan have this ability, this kind of, Princess Diana quality, where people are so obsessed by them. And the hate is actually just some weird, abusive, love. It's actually sick. I mean, they landed in Britain, they probably have drones out and helicopters, and then said, oh no, we hate them, we don't want them here, but you follow them. You're obsessed. It needs to be studied. It's like a clinical disease of some kind.
Squaddies, they're here. After all the rumours, predictions, arguments and endless will they, won't they conversations, Harry and Meghan have finally arrived in the UK. And look at the reaction. Suddenly, everybody is paying attention. Breaking reports, live coverage, fresh headlines, new commentary. The very same media that has spent years telling us the Sussexes are finished, irrelevant, and yesterday's news is suddenly standing at the front of the queue screaming, Harry and Meghan are back. Well, which one is it? Because you can't spend years telling people nobody cares about Harry and Meghan, then treat their arrival like the royal equivalent of a national emergency. Pick a story. If they're irrelevant, why are newsrooms scrambling to cover their every move? If nobody cares, why are journalists tracking their arrival? If Britain has supposedly moved on, why is the Sussexes' return generating this much attention? The contradiction is sitting right there. And honestly, I think regular people are looking at this and having a little laugh. Because Harry and Meghan didn't have to announce themselves with some giant royal spectacle. They didn't need a palace balcony, they didn't need a carriage, they didn't need a marching band. They arrived. That's it. And suddenly the British media machine has gone, everybody wake up, the Sussexes are here. That tells you something. Whether you support Harry and Meghan or you're one of their critics, you cannot pretend they don't generate attention. They clearly do. And that's exactly why this return is so interesting. For years, we've heard that Harry and Meghan supposedly walked away from relevance. But today, the moment they set foot back in Britain, the headlines came flying. So perhaps Harry and Meghan didn't lose relevance when they left. Perhaps the media simply never stopped watching. And now that they're physically back in Britain, they have given the press exactly what they've been waiting for. A Sussex story they can actually put in real time. But here's the thing I want people to remember. Harry and Meghan are not coming back to beg for a place in the royal family. They're not returning to ask permission to exist. They're coming back as a family. They're living their lives. They're making their own decisions. And they don't need the palace to validate any of it. So yes, squaddies, Harry and Meghan are finally back in the UK. And judging by the reaction, the people who spent years telling us nobody cared about them might want to have another look at those headlines. Because today, the British media just gave us the evidence themselves. The Sussexes are here, and nobody can seem to look away. Now let's clear up one thing, because I can already hear the headlines warming up. Harry and Meghan are back in Britain, but that does not mean they're crawling back into royal life. There is a huge difference. They haven't suddenly announced, right, we're ready for royal duties again. No palace office, no royal rota schedule, no cutting ribbons, no standing around waiting for somebody to tell them where to wave. This is a family returning to Britain. That's it. Harry is coming back to the country where he was born and raised. Meghan is bringing her family into another chapter of their lives. And Archie and Lilibet get to experience more of their father's home country. That's a family decision. People don't have to understand every detail of it. They don't have to agree with it, but we should at least recognise what it is. It's not a royal comeback tour. Harry isn't suddenly asking William for a job. Meghan isn't knocking on the palace door saying, can I have my old position back? And they're certainly not arriving with their suitcases saying, okay, Charles, where do we sign? No, they're coming back with their own lives, their own work, their own home base and their own choices. That's actually the part I find fascinating. Because leaving the royal family didn't erase Harry's connection to Britain. You can move thousands of miles away and still miss your country. You can build a completely different life and still want your children to know where their dad grew up. You can have disagreements with your family and still want your children to know their grandfather. That's normal human behaviour. That's family. And honestly, I think some people are making this far more complicated than it needs to be. Harry and Meghan are not returning to ask anyone's permission. They're not surrendering. They're not admitting defeat. They're not saying, you were right all along. They're simply making a decision about where they want their family to spend time, on their terms. And that distinction matters, because Harry and Meghan have spent years building a life outside the institution. They have their own home, their own projects, their own careers, their own family. Coming back to Britain doesn't erase any of that. It doesn't mean the clock has magically been turned back. It means the Sussexes are adding another chapter. And perhaps that's what people need to get their heads around. You can come home without going backwards. Harry can return to Britain without becoming a working royal. Meghan can return without becoming a member of the firm. Archie and Lilibet can experience Britain without becoming royal property. That's the difference. So when somebody says Harry and Meghan are crawling back, I'd say, crawling back to what exactly? They've got their own life, they're making their own choices, and they're walking through the door as a family, not as employees reporting for duty. It isn't Harry and Meghan returning to the royal family, it's Harry and Meghan returning to Britain. And those are two very, very different things. Now, squaddies, this is where I want us to put the royal drama to one side for a minute, because once you bring Archie and Lilibet into the picture, this isn't just about headlines anymore. These are two little children. They've grown up in California. That's the world they know. But their dad grew up in Britain. Their grandfather is the king. And now they're getting the chance to experience more of that side of their family story. Think about that from a child's perspective. New country, new school, new classmates, new routines. That's a big change. And forget all the palace gossip for a second. Any parent watching this can understand the basic idea. You make decisions based on what you believe will give your children the best life. That's it. You don't need a royal expert to explain that. You don't need a panel of commentators. You don't need 12 newspaper columns. Parents make these calls every single day. Where should the kids go to school? Where will they be happiest? Where can they have stability? Where can they make friends? Where can they simply be children? And that's why I think Archie and Lilibet deserve a little breathing room here. Not every school run needs to become breaking news. Not every photograph needs to become a royal investigation. Not every interaction with their family needs to be turned into ammunition for another Harry versus William argument. Let these kids have a childhood. That's the part that should matter. Imagine being a child and finding out that every normal thing your family does can become a headline. You go to school? Headline. You visit your grandfather? Headline. You appear somewhere with your parents? Headline. You sneeze? Somebody's probably writing, royal experts react. Come on. These children didn't ask for any of this. So if Harry and Meghan are trying to create a life where Archie and Lilibet can experience Britain while still having some normality, I think that's worth respecting. And there is another human element here. Hopefully this gives the children more opportunities to know their grandfather. Whatever has happened between the adults, children should not have to carry those adult problems on their shoulders. If there is an opportunity for Archie and Lilibet to build happy memories with their family in Britain, that's a good thing. A grandfather spending time with his grandchildren, kids making memories, family moments that don't need an audience. That's what I'd rather focus on. Not who won, not who lost, not which royal expert thinks Harry should apologise for the 97th time. The children. Because at the end of the day, Harry and Meghan aren't just making a decision about themselves. They're making a decision about their family. And Archie and Lilibet deserve the chance to experience this new chapter without being dragged into the adult drama surrounding their parents. Let them go to school, let them make friends, let them laugh, let them grow up. And most importantly, let them be children. That's the human story underneath all the noise. And squaddies, this is where I want to end because the real test isn't Harry and Meghan coming back to Britain. The real test is whether Britain can actually let them live. Because look at the madness already. They've barely arrived and we're already talking about where they landed, where they're staying, what school the children might attend, their security, Charles, William, the royal family, Meghan's work, Harry's plans. My goodness, let the people put their suitcases down first. Imagine arriving home after travelling with your family, and before you've even found the kettle, there's somebody writing a 1,000-word analysis about what your airport arrival supposedly means for the monarchy. Come on. And this is where I think the British media needs to take a breath. You wanted Harry back. You said people were fascinated by the Sussexes. You've spent months discussing their possible return. Well, they're here. Now what? Are you going to give them a chance to actually live their lives? Because there's a massive difference between reporting legitimate news and turning a family's everyday existence into a 24-hour spectator sport. Harry goes somewhere, headline. Meghan goes somewhere, headline. The children go to school, headline. Harry sees a member of his family, breaking news. At some point, people need to say enough is enough, and especially when it comes to Archie and Lilibet. These are children. They should be able to walk into school without photographers treating the school gates like the Super Bowl. They should be able to spend time with family without every moment becoming tomorrow's front page. They should be able to experience Britain without being turned into characters in somebody else's royal drama. And Harry and Meghan deserve some space too. They've made the decision to come back knowing exactly what the British press can be like. That doesn't mean they should have to surrender every bit of privacy the moment they land. They're still human beings, they're still parents, they're still a family. And honestly, I think this is where the media has a chance to prove whether all those welcoming headlines actually meant something. If Britain really wanted Harry home, if people really were curious about Meghan, if the Sussex return is genuinely being celebrated, then let them breathe. Don't welcome them with one hand and chase them with a camera in the other. Don't turn every family outing into another battle. Don't manufacture another Harry versus William showdown every time the brothers happen to be in the same country. And please, can we stop turning every Sussex Instagram post into a national emergency? Let Harry be Harry. Let Meghan be Meghan. Let Archie and Lilibet be children. Give this family room to settle in, because coming home should not mean surrendering your right to live. And that's why I think the biggest question now isn't whether Harry and Meghan belong in Britain. They're here. The question is whether the media can finally learn how to cover them without consuming them. Because squaddies, after everything we've watched over the years, maybe the real test isn't Harry and Meghan can handle Britain again. Maybe it's whether Britain can finally handle Harry and Meghan without turning their lives into a circus. Thanks for watching, squaddies. I'm your host, Miles. Hit that like, subscribe, and stay blessed. Until next time, keep watching, keep smiling, and God bless you all.